Hello, everybody. It's Absolute Carnage. We've got 4 people on the panel. We've done no introduction. Apologies for that. It is the working day for some above me, and some have just got in for work, and then there's me and Joe on the dole. Hope we're all doing...
This is work. This is work, man.
In the comment section below, anyway, everybody, make sure you get your thoughts in for this one. Slap the likes on the video, and we're back with the debrief. Anyway, so let's go to the man with the literally the hat gets more expansive every time you come on a stream, mate. How are we doing, Oscar? All good?
Good, mate. Good. Great weekends, good football, all chilled out. If only every weekend was like that, mate. But yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Good man. Good man. Our educated American above me, how are we doing over there? Looking stressed?
I'm very stressed. I'm ready to go to war. Proverbially, not literally. This is actually a Goo Goo Dolls, if anybody knows that band. It's a Goo Goo Dolls tour jacket. But no, I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Just hanging in there.
Want the world to see. Is that them?
Attaboy, Joe.
Gonna have to trim out that section for copyright.
It's shorter than 15 seconds. It's fair use. You've done well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The nightmare. I tried a new intro at the weekend, and it was copyright free. And as soon as I put it on, it literally is copyright free music. Put it on, demonetized, sharing monetization. I'm like, why? Oh, this is a song that someone's claimed. I was like, oh, great. So I spent like 3 hours trying to get it off the instant match reaction and the watch along.
I'm going to write the intro song. At least I'm going to try to demo it. The whole trip to Florida is me trying to convince Connor to use the demo song I've written for one Leeds.
Okay, well, I didn't know anything about this. Evening, Connor. Leeds looks scintillating. Smash a like and subscribe. Evening, lads. Great panel, says Danny. The legends themselves. Joe on strings in here. Go. See on strings, Joe. What's happened already?
No,
Joe
sings. Joe even sings on here.
Oh, Joe even sings. It was from this morning, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I promise no bites tonight. I'll be on my best behavior. I'll turn the chat off.
Connor gave us a good soundbite over the weekend. Connor, how are you doing now after this weekend? Somebody popped into the chat the other day and said, "Stop using big words. You're not Shakespeare."
Yeah, I got that. I don't even know what word I used, mate. I literally don't even know what word I used.
We're getting caned for flowers as well, bro. I don't know if you're aware of that. I got a comment on mine saying Joe and Connor must have just found the word flowers out or something, and I was like, "Oh, give it up, man." Yeah.
Connor, do the thing you said. In response.
Like so. I don't think Joe Rothwell will get enough flowers. That kind of app. So
Okay. That's hardly a new phrase.
Well, exactly, mate. We've got to remember the demographic is quite old, so they're probably fuming at that. The word flowers. No, I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm aware of my demographic. I know I play up to that, you old gits.
Absolutely.
Oscar's about to call flowers woke nonsense. Like,
yeah. We know it's
utter woke nonsense.
Woke.
Jason says, "Evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well." Nice. I trust Gabe is meeting Connor in the States. He is indeed, mate. Connor, you look like a Guinness. That's the wrong comment, but yeah,
That is true. That is true.
Foamy top, dark.
A nice frothy top. Right, okay, let's get on to the weekend's game and Leeds United in general. Gabe, I've not got your take, mate. What do you make of the weekend? Millwall coming up. Where are your thoughts when it comes to Leeds United at this moment in time?
It's hard not to feel positive, right? I mean, we have a midfield tandem right now who was our second choice tandem, by the way. Absolutely bossing it against, granted, a poor team, but they've been good against good teams. And when you look at the return rate from some of the players that we on this channel have been critical of, it's actually been very, very good. Even some of the players I demand more from, if you just step back and look at it objectively, they've been very, very good. So, looking forward, I'm very, very optimistic. I want to see good winning performances on away grounds that are hard to win at. But right now we're on pace for 93 points. It's very, very hard to complain too much about this level of performance. And the reality is, everybody sort of said, we agree that we haven't even hit our top gear yet. I'm very pleased with who we've seen play. I'm in a good place right now. About Leeds United, ask me about other things privately, and I'll tell you how I'm doing. But for right now,
don't ask me about American politics, please.
That's number 3 in my ranked list of concerns right now.
Oscar, when Leeds win and Leeds put in a good performance, I notice you change hats and the hats get more expansive. So how are you feeling today, mate?
Yeah, I'm glad someone recognised that. I'm glad someone realised that. It's it means a lot.
It'll be a sombrero if we're going a 6-man match. Rooney won.
Yeah, that will be.
That's
mate.
why the Springsteen hat comes out. Now I get it.
That's the critical hat, that one. I go from a listed wardrobe and go, that's the critical hat. That's the happy hat.
He's getting
That's
a Rafinha Barcelona tattoo all across his back and arms, just like doing Christ the Redeemer on his back.
That's if we get the 10-game winning run, Gabe. I think I'm safe on that one, though, for the time being. I think I'm safe. But, yeah, absolutely brilliant. I thought, to be honest, first half was outstanding. I think, to be honest, 3-0, I think, was a fair reflection on that first half. I think it was just total domination. We had chances to make it even more. Second half, I think it was one of those, it was either going to be a 3-0, it just stay the way it was, or we're going to win 7-0 or something. Sometimes you see those games where you rush into a 3-goal lead and then you just kind of manage the second half. I think we did do a bit of management in the second half in terms of not really expending too much energy in the game, in that second half, really. Obviously, great to see the substitutions we made. A couple of debutants there. All three, I thought, did really well in the performance. Great time to come on as well. And to restrict Plymouth to 0 shots is, in terms of statistically, it is so rare. It is so rare to do that. And it was a fair reflection. I mean, the fact that Tanaka had 5 less passes, I think it was, than the whole Plymouth team put together, kind of says what it does on the tin, really. Obviously, an element of Plymouth were terrible, but I thought it was mostly, I think we made Plymouth look terrible as well. So full credit to us. And I think the fact Plymouth went with sort of a back 6 at times in the game showed that Farke can break down a low block as well when he's got the right personnel on the pitch.
Yeah, that's probably an important point, that isn't it, Joe? And something that we didn't touch on this morning, the fact that we got through the low block. I still feel Bristol came up against us with a bit of a low block as well. And I still think we got through that. There was points against Burnley was probably the classic example of which we just couldn't break through. But Bristol, we still had chances, big chances, I felt, in that game. Not as gargantuan as some chances we've had this season, but there were big chances. And I feel now we seem to have this method of which we can pick opponents out with that low block, or you can just steamroll the opponents and they don't really have a choice. I mean, I guess that's a positive thing with the last two. The opponents may not have been, the best, but with these opponents, they're not going to come and play with Leeds. And the Plymouth goalkeeper was time wasting from the 8th minute, mate. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can only beat what's put in front of you, can't you? And the facts are we are a championship team and we're going to be playing championship opposition. And look, they were bad, really bad. And Rooney obviously made a lot of changes and showed probably his...
what a manager.
Yeah, and his inability tactically and stuff, I think. I think we all know that, though, these ex-players. But just on the midfield pairing, I think I specifically remember one moment in the game where Tanaka, I think Byram had picked it up at right back and he gave it this, come on, recycle it. And he gave it to Rodon, who then passed it into Strauch. And then he's going, come on, quicker. And that's something we haven't seen. So I think the fact that he does that, the fact that when Rothwell picks it up and whenever he sees a space in front of him, he will just carry the ball into that space, which then draws a player out, and then obviously he's got options. So I think them two have been the perfect foil for the low blocks, the perceived low blocks, because maybe Ampadu Gruev, I can't believe I'm saying this because obviously I'm such a big advocate of Gruev, but it was very samey. It was at times left to right, and Gruev was trying to get forward, but now I can see, having seen Rothwell more regularly, he doesn't do it to the level that Rothwell can in terms of his ball carrying into areas, which then obviously draws out. So I think the midfield pairing works fantastically well, and to think that we have 5 awesome midfielders when you throw in Gulavogi, Ampadu, and we said this morning, and I don't want to repeat myself, but we have to win the league. I'm sorry, now as a fan, I'm looking at it going, you can't, you've got to win this league, because the squad is phenomenal. The performances are phenomenal. Like, no disrespect. Even teams that we've been beaten against, Burnley, we dominated them. Even the Sunderland game where we drew, we dominated. We haven't not dominated an opponent yet. So I just can't see. And I know it's famous last words and that, but I just can't see. And I've done a bit of research, right? I've done a bit of research on something.
Right.
I've just been. I want to ask you something, right? I've just been listening to Not the Top 20, who were massive advocates of Leeds United, but they compared us. They compared us with Burnley in 22-23, and they got 101 points. Try tell me, lads, how many points at this stage of the season and what position Burnley were in the league?
I'm pretty sure they were like 5th or something. I don't know how many points, but they weren't.
I was going to say
high at all, were they?
I was going to say 5th.
So they were 3rd, and they had four less points than us. They'd lost one game like us, but drew more. They drew 7. We've only drawn 5. So that's the 4 points that we've made up. And they went on to get 101 points. Now, look, we were watching it then, maybe seeing bits, but not the top 20 lads are seeing so many correlations with that. So I'm not saying we'll break the 100-point marker, but I'm saying we'll probably get close to it, man. Like,
it's mad right now as well, Joe. I think Sunderland, with the points tally that they were on, I think I saw it, like, it was like some data thing I saw on Twitter, and it was like they're only one of 6 teams who've ever got that points tally by this time in the season. I think at that point, it was similar to Ipswich and Leicester from last season as well. So you wonder if Sunderland fans are looking at that as well and thinking we're in a damn good position right now as well if we can get that consistency ironed out. So yeah, it's interesting. I guess more of the comparisons maybe is the squad and how we play to who's the manager then? Was it
Company? That the season. Company.
Oh, sorry, Vincent Company,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, right, yeah.
Where they absolutely dominated it, right? So go on, Gabe. Sorry.
No, can I just say about before we get away from the low block thing? I do want to point out that Plymouth Argyle have given up 12 goals in the last 4 matches. So it may not just be. I mean, we did struggle against Bristol City, who didn't play a true low block. But I don't want to extrapolate and say Farke's figured out the low block, because this is a team that leaks goals like they've been shot and bleeding. It's horrendous. So, you know, not to dampen anything that was said, I fully agree with Joe on all points, and it is an interesting thing to think about when you think about league placement. But I just want to remind everybody.
I'm not sure domestically, Gabe, I've ever seen a more. It frustrated me that we didn't, like, because Cardiff put 5 past them. And Cardiff are shambolic. And I really thought genuinely in that game, I mean, we scored 3 goals in 7 minutes. Like, we literally could have scored 7. So it was one of those games where I don't think you've seen that much dominance. And maybe the positive out of it, Gabe, is the fact that I'm not sure I've ever seen a game in the same league. Look, I'm sure Man City have done it multiple times, but in the Championship, where a team has had no XG and no shots. Like, obviously no shots on target as well, of course. But that trio is insane, I think, when 2 teams are in the same league. And maybe that just shows levels, really, and how dominant Leeds can be.
Hard to argue with that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's also one thing I'm pleased about when you have a squad that has been reinforced, but it is this thin in some injury areas and some players that are just getting back. I'm glad that we didn't go for something stupid to score 7 goals and come away with some injuries. You know what I mean? Like, a 3-0 victory is comprehensive. When you look at the stat sheet, they had absolutely nothing going. When you watch the match, they had absolutely nothing going. It was a thorough undressing. I'm delighted. And hopefully it bodes well going forward. I just want to, I think the only fine kind of nitpick point was, I'm not sure I agree that we figured out the low block. I think we'll have to see. Maybe we have, but it's hard for me to say that after playing.
We'll find out on Wednesday, bro. We will find out on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like in Millwall away, trying to break down Millwall and then not get caught on a set piece. I mean, how many teams fails that Millwall?
They are not playing out from the back. Whether we've got the most recoveries in the league in an attacking sense, but Millwall will just think, all right, we'll play over it. We're just going to kick it long. So
Rodon and Strauch will both have over 100 passes each. It's just one of them games. You just know it's going to be that type of game where there is going to be a lot of side-to-side between Rodon. It's not a criticism, by the way. It's just the way Millwall set up. A lot of the play is going to be in front of Millwall. So you're going to see Rodon and Strauch having a loss of the ball, I think, on Wednesday. But we're definitely still a team that's better without the ball than we are with it.
Oscar, listen to the result pattern from October 1st. This is Millwall. 1-1, 1-0, 0-0, 1-1, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. That's been Millwall's last think 7 results. So
Big
It's
Sam ball,
isn't it? But if we get as good with the ball as what we are without it, in terms of that defensive unit, I honestly think I think we can potentially be talking 100 points this season, really, quite comfortably, to be honest, because we are clearly the best team defensively in the league, even if the stats don't say it. Over the season, unless Melier goes on a horrible run of form or we get an injury to Rodon,
It could happen. Let's be
keep the
honest.
ball away from him.
It could
Keep the
happen.
ball away from him.
In terms of unless Rodon or Strout pick up an injury or something like that happens, we will, I think, finish the season by quite a lot of goals with the best defensive record. I think it's mad we conceded the amount of goals we have conceded this season. To be honest, you look at it and say, yeah, we could have kind of like, 13 games played, we could have only conceded 5 or 6 goals. You could genuinely make a case for that, as keeping as many clean sheets as we have conceded goals. But I think at some point in the season, we will go on a crazy clean sheet run. I'll say that much. I think when we get a decent run of games, possibly the run of games we've got coming up, I think there's definitely potential to go on a big clean sheet run. But I do think there's still more for us going forward, definitely. And I think obviously with Ramazani missing, who I think is going to be our most productive forwards over the season in terms of goals and assists, that's obviously hurting us.
Oscar, there's one man that I wanted to bring up actually, and me and Gabe had a bit of a disagreement on. Across the pond on Patreon last week, and we put it on the channel actually, a little clip. And it was one was about Joseph and Perot, but the other a little bit before was on Willie Gnonto. Now, me and Joe were speaking about it this morning, and I was saying to Joe, apparently he's one of my favourites. Yep, fair enough, he is. So I said, look, at the weekend, I didn't think he was that impressive. Now, Willie Gnonto's standards are so high that I feel that we judge him to a different standard. Maybe it's that of a Dan James. Let's say
all of us, myself included. Connor, can we just say before we go any further that no one's saying take him out of the team, because we're going to get those comments.
Oh, I saw that. I saw
right.
that, and that
we're going to get nobody's saying take him out of the team. Just before anybody we're talking about, and correct me if I'm hijacking and misinterpreting Connor, but we're talking about, has Willie Gnonto hit the standard that he should be setting for himself based on the level of talent we see from him? That was the debate. Nobody was debating whether we should take him out.
Well, let me land, as the kids say. So
let me cook. I think it is actually.
That'll be in the comments. They're saying, "Let me land now."
Yeah, Joe.
More woke nonsense.
We need to look at our audience, don't we, before saying stuff like this. But his accurate passing is in the 90s. He's got 5 assists, which is like joint top so far in the championship this season, and he's created the most big chances in the championship. What are we looking at from Willie Gnonto as a collective? Are we looking at? I mean, how far? Like, is it? I guess the question is right now: 13 matches in, 7 goal contributions. The stats the standards that he is setting is still pretty high. Would we not all agree? And how much further up do they need to be for us to turn around and say, look, okay, we're getting the most from Willie Gnonto? Anyone can jump in there.
Gnonto has got a situation now where I personally think Gnonto still had a very strong season. By the way, I think he had a strong season last season as well. But I think it's a similar kind of pattern to last season in terms of, I think he is technically our best player, and I think his potential is way, way, way above this league. I think if Gnonto even gets a remotely consistent run of form together this season, I think he's by far the best player in the league. I'd say by far as well. I genuinely do believe that. Well,
he's not showing that, though.
See, that's the thing. This is where I get.
He needs to show that. I think his potential is far better than what he's actually showing on the pitch, and that's actually a praise of Gnonto more than anything. That I think he can be a lot better than what he actually is being at the minute.
But the best player in the league by far. So this is what drags me down into it, and I end up.
It's not. I agree.
I don't want to be in.
Gabe and Joe, which players are we saying are better than Gnonto? Then?
No, that's not how you construct an argument, Oscar.
I would argue Koleosho's up there. Koleosho at Burnley's up there.
Yeah, he's good. I do like him, to be fair. I think he's carrying that Burnley team. And to be honest, that's what I think Gnonto's capable of carrying the.
But he's not doing it. That's the point.
No, I agree. But he has the potential to. I'm as frustrated with Gnonto as you guys are, by the way. He's playing in his favourite position because, if anything, the Ramazani injury has been an opportunity for Gnonto. I have actually been disappointed with Gnonto the last couple of weeks because I think he can be a lot better than what he has been, probably since that Sunderland game, really. And I think Gnonto is a superb footballer. I think he's still. Yeah, when he's on the pitch, he absolutely rinses the opposition fullback most weeks. but I think he can still be better than what he is.
Here's the thing. Here's what bothers me about this. It comes down to when you make an argument, anybody makes any argument, the burden of proof to substantiate that argument is on the person that makes it. You don't say to somebody, well, tell me who's better. You made the claim he's the best player in the championship. And
no, I didn't. I never said that.
Best player in the league by far? That. Did you not just say that?
I never said that. I said he has the potential to be. If he plays anywhere near as consistently as he can, he is the best player in the league by far. But he doesn't. I don't think he's the best player in the league. But I think he can be.
Okay, all right. Then I'll back off it. I thought you were saying you thought he was the best player in the league.
I think if Gnonto had... An application is totally the wrong word. That's not the word. I was going to say application. That's the wrong word for it. But if he had the consistency in terms of end products of Ramazani and the consistency of Tanaka, I think he would be the best player in the league.
But based on what? Besides, we talk about vibes on this channel all the time, how it drives us nuts. You have to look at a substantiated body of work over a period of time to tell you who a player actually is. I think one of the reasons we have such stratospheric expectations for Willie Gnonto is because we look at him and we say, all right, with all the skills put together, we should be able to, what we want him to do is we look at our stat sheet right now. We're seeing Pirro and Brendan Aronson being 1 and 2 in our scoring. We're saying, surely if those players who we don't think are as talented, I don't agree with that, by the way. Put it on the screen. But surely those players who wait, hang on. Let me just finish. Let me just finish this. Surely those players who aren't as talented, if they're putting up those numbers, then we should be able to see Willie Gnonto produce numbers that are close to Somerville. I think that's what we want him to do in our heads. And when we look at it now, you're right. He's having a very, very good season by all standards. I don't think it's matching the expectations in our head. What I'm trying to say is when you build an argument, you have to show some kind of substantive body of evidence. We can't just say from nothing and vibes that somebody could be the best player in the championship. We've seen him for 3 seasons here. What have we actually seen by any stretch of the imagination that substantiates that's kind of claim? What happens is people look in on Leeds fans like they're delusional. They think Willie Gnonto's the best player in the league or could be based on what? That's what I want.
But if he's, let's say hypothetically, right, what's not even hypothetically, I guess it will be classified as a body of work. So far, he's created the most big chances in the division.
Yes.
So if he's created the most big chances in the division, then you would expect Leeds United to have a problem in terms of finishing, which we know this season has been a bit of an issue. Whether or not it comes down to Joseph, whether or not it's Aronson, who have like
both, by the way, are leading the team in missed big chances of the 5.
Yes, missed big chances. Yeah, exactly. That's why I mentioned them both. So I do wonder whether or not Willie Gnonto, you're looking at him in double figures, really, when it comes to his end products. If those guys are at least finishing 50% of those chances.
Boyer Sainz has 10 goals and 2 assists. Why hasn't Gnonto got something similar?
I agree, Joe. This is the point.
Do you see what I'm saying? And I'm not. And do I think Gnonto's better than Sainz? Yes, I do actually. Yeah, but he should be putting up them numbers, Oscar, right?
I agree. Listen, I've said Gnonto is underperformed in that left wing spot. I thought when Gnonto went to that left wing spot, listen, I was gutted when Ramazani got injured, but I thought Gnonto's going to seriously hit top gear now. He's going to be 9 out of 10 every week because he's playing that favoured position. We're playing pretty well ourselves. Tanaka's kind of feeding him on to that left-hand side. Rothwell's connecting. Firpo's
Oscar, just to add to that, and Gabe as well, and Joe, it's not just Leeds fans saying this. This is a general championship thing. They all look at Willie Gnonto and think he's at least one of the top 3 in the division. They all look at Willie Gnonto as Leeds' most dangerous player. You listen to any of the podcasts, into any of the neutral channels when they're about to face Leeds, Willie Gnonto is 2 or 3 players that they name check every single time.
Based on what, though?
Well, clearly something they've seen. Clearly,
but I'm asking us because we're having a conversation. Based on what?
Well, I think, as I said before we actually got into this conversation, I think Ramazani will get the most goals and assists in this Leeds team. I think Gnonto should be that player. This should be Gnonto's team in the same way Somerville last season, from pretty much game 1 against Cardiff, when he dragged us back into the game pretty much on his own on that particular occasion. He made that his team from pretty much minute 1. Of course, then obviously Rutter came in.
Yeah, but let's go back to Gnonto though. Based on what?
Well, we've said the data so far this season to you. It's pretty impressive, his numbers. That's the point.
So what you're saying is the numbers he's put up, both this season and last season, substantiate the claim that you think he could be far and away the best player in the championship. That blows my mind.
Well, you got to look at his skill set. The fact he can play on the right and left, the fact he can beat his man with ease, the fact he's got not tons.
Do you know what his stats are on the left versus on the right, Oscar?
No idea. I wouldn't be surprised if his stats are better on the right, to be honest.
Much better on the right.
Yeah. But I still think he's better on the left, and he should be performing.
That's what I'm saying. I think
I
think the majority of the conversations we have about Willie Gnonto are driven by vibes and stuff we haven't seen and expectations we're putting on the player, which I actually think that does a disservice to the player. Because what we have is a really good player who puts up really solid numbers. His big chances created, number 1 in the league. I got to say, it's only a quarter of the league played so far, but it's still an excellent point, and the margin isn't that high. He's a very, very good player, but I think we get into this hyperbolic echo chamber that when we ask for, like, based on what, we can't really produce anything evidence-based. And I don't think it does the player a favor, because I think we'll always have people in the fan base, unless he hits. Basically, what we're saying is, unless he hits the numbers that are absolutely in the stratosphere, then he's going to disappoint as a Leeds player. It's essentially what we're implying here.
Well, but a lot, and we're a lot as a fan base as well. We've said that he's the best in the division, right? Okay, well, I've said he's the best in the division, in my opinion. But when you're looking at just wingers in this division, I've said he's the best player in the championship, right? Okay, we've seen Borja signs. Okay, fair enough, but he's more central, I'd say. Joe, more central.
Yeah, of course. And just on Borja signs, this is a guy that couldn't even get in the Norwich side last season. Like, let's not, because he's done well this season and got 10 goals, let's not pretend that he's better than Gnonto. Do we all agree that Gnonto streaks ahead of Borja?
It's like the Morgan Whittaker last season, isn't it?
Yeah,
but we can add Koleosho in there. But if we're having a discussion right now on Willie Gnonto not being the best player in the division, I mean, I'd like to know who is, from an attacking sense. And if it is one of our, it's probably going to be one of our bodies, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, and the stats do back it up. The stats do back it up right now from an attacking sense that he is.
Hamer's in with a shout on form. Hamer being with a shout at Sheffield United.
I just found the numbers interesting, because I was looking back, and me and Joe had a discussion this morning. And it was like, well, actually, am I giving Gnonto too much? But then I was looking back at the numbers, and I'm thinking, well, if 50% more of his big chances are created, that obviously he's enforcing on this side, then he's beyond Borja signs. So, I mean, that's not his fault, is it? So, I don't know, maybe more goals, lads. I think that's a conversation to be had. I think Joe made a really good point about, I think you said, Joe, didn't you, his 1v1s? His 1v1s, I think, are really poor. I think when he goes through on goal, I think
he's number 2 on our team with big chances missed with 4.
Yeah. So I think when you see him going through on goal, I don't really get out my seat, which is a bit of a problem with Leeds. But I'll tell you what, lads, let's move on to the
just one thing I wanted to add into this. He reminds me so much of the Samu Saiz conversations we had in that first season under Bielsa, in that first 6 months, where we all thought, right, this is going to be Samu Saiz's team, and he just got completely outperformed by Pablo Hernandez. I think it's a similar kind of thing happening with Gnonto and Ramazani when Ramazani's back. I just think when you look at who's going to drag Leeds through games and need dragging through, I think it's going to be Ramazani rather than Gnonto. And I don't think that should be the case in terms of the skill set that Gnonto's got compared to Ramazani. I just think Ramazani just kind of gets himself into the game a lot smoother than Gnonto does.
And I think Leeds look way better with Ramazani and Gnonto in the side. I think we can both agree with that. We can all agree with that. The balance on either side, it's almost like they don't know what to do. They don't know who to pick up, and naturally it creates a little bit of space.
Which is a disservice to Dan James, isn't it? It's unfair because he's coming and playing really well, but the standard is just higher. And look, I'm not gonna spend any time on this show advocating for Dan James to come out of the team, because when he comes in and plays like he has, again, it's a disservice to him. But point being, you're 100% right. When Ramazani's in the team, I mean, look at the statistics and the data of what he's actually brought, especially per 90 minutes. It's pretty astounding.
We've spoken about it. We've spoken about it a lot. I don't want to touch on the centre midfield as such, because I think we've done it to death. But I want to talk about
fawned over them the entire time.
I just want to talk about the back line, of which is just hitting ridiculous numbers at this moment in time. We're speaking about it this morning, and how many goals and just chances we're conceding at this moment in time. People may say, look, it's the teams that you're playing, but I feel like even the tougher teams that we've been playing, I can't really look at them and think, oh, you know, as a fan watching the game, I've been thinking, they're in. I think just
Connor, how can you have, bro, 4 championship games when you're throwing in Watford, Sheffield United, Plymouth, and Bristol City, and only have 3 shots on target faced? That's insane.
And I wonder, Joe, as well, what it was like on target, and people might be able to tell us in the chat what it would have been with like Norwich, Sheffield, Sunderland. I mean, maybe I'd actually say, lads, out of those 3, over the 90, it was probably Norwich who maybe bloodied our nose a little bit more, like who just looked like they were in the game a little bit. I really didn't think. I mean, Sunderland were in it 15, weren't they? And they were good for 15 minutes, and we thought, bloody hell, here we go. But I can't remember chance after chance after chance after chance happening in those 15 minutes. And Sheffield United just weren't in the game whatsoever, were they? So that'd be interesting to look at. But it just shows that different types of games Leeds have been able to deal with it in the back line really pretty well.
I think it's less. I'm not trying to discredit the back line. You know, I'm a defender. I love the back line. But I actually think when you're controlling 79% of the possession against Plymouth Argyle team, match before against Bristol City, I know we all sort of agree that wasn't our best match, still 68% of the possession. It's very, very difficult to muster something against your opponent if you've got, so little of the ball. I think we defend
you can say that about
by the
Liverpool
way we
and Man
possess.
City defenders, though, to be fair, Gabe.
Sorry?
Because they dominate possession as well. It's still, I get what you're saying, but you're still having to play higher up the pitch because you've got so much of the ball. Your defenders are pushed up the pitch. You've got all that space behind you when the ball does turn over. We don't even concede counterattacks.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit apples and oranges in the Premier League, especially at that level. And we saw it when we were in that division. You make one mistake and you're put to the sword. This division is not quite that way. So you do, again, it doesn't discredit the back line. I just think the most important thing I've seen is the way these two midfielders and the way the entire team, by the way, it does look like we're a little bit more committed to defending by committee versus just putting it on the back line. I have to say, I mean, I think I said on the show, I was a little bit nervous about Ampadu primarily coming up, but Gruev as well because of all the interceptions they make and the passing lanes they close down. I actually think the possession play has been silkier with these two in the midfield and the work that they have done. I mean, when I'm looking at Tanaka's winning most of his duels, I didn't really think that would happen. His tackling numbers haven't dropped significantly. Ampadu is a tackling beast at this level. But for me, what if I'm looking at if I'm making a list of the top contributing factors to the clean sheets and the lack of chances created, number one, I'm going to say possession. Number two, I'm going to say clean backline play. I also think we've seen something different from Pascal Struck this year. I think he's a little bit more no nonsense in some ways. Obviously, he still plays the ball in a way that allows them to retain possession. But some of the deer caught in headlights, we've never had any doubts about him with the ball. We've never really had.
Gabe, the accurate passing per 90 is so impressive.
It is
top of the league.
It's
top
fantastic.
of the league by a country mile. He's top of the league.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But I do want to point out that in areas where sometimes you would kind of lean on the edge of your seat with our back line, they've eliminated a lot of those mistakes. I think Rodon has improved his performances as well. I mean, he was sort of kind of middling in the beginning of the season. I think it took him some time to get settled, and I think he has. So I think it's all worth crediting, but I just think the most important factor right now with the clean sheets we're keeping is in the lack of opportunities on goal is the possession play. I think it's been fantastic.
I think as well, like to give props, like you touch on Strauch there was a graphic. I tried to find it there on Twitter, but I couldn't find it. But in terms of progressive passes and first header duels won, Strauch's like far and away the best in the league. So that's an area of his game that's improved as well. Like, he just wins it. And
he looks stronger this year, doesn't he, Joe?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of them do. I think they've all come on. We can look at Aronson for that as well. That's clearly something they're working on in terms of like a lot of gym work, I would assume. If you watch like the pre-season videos, they did tend to be doing quite a lot of that. So maybe there's something in that as well. Like, but yeah, I think Strauch is phenomenal. Like
Joe, I wanted to ask you something specifically, mate. Like with Rothwell and Tanaka, we said we won't touch on it, but we're gonna have to. But Rothwell and Tanaka, when I think you were having the discussion a little bit earlier on in the season about Gruev sort of making those sort of long passes every now and again. I think now it's abundantly clear. I think I checked earlier on, and like it's accurate long balls. I think Rothwell's in like the top 6 in the division, and the rest are centre backs. I think Tanaka's sort of in the top 10 as well. I think it just shows, mate, there has just been a massive increase, and I think it's just worked perfectly for Leeds as well. Because then it just sent me mental. I was like, if you play these balls, these long balls over the top, you're taking the midfield out of it, and you've got our wingers 1v1 against fullbacks. And I just think that's made such a massive difference in terms of getting Leeds up the pitch and actually attacking the fullbacks and getting to the byline.
Yeah, and I think as well, like Farke said after the Gruev injury about maybe having to change it slightly, and obviously we've seen that. Maybe it is just due to personnel, but we did see that from Gruev when he first came into the side, and it was almost as if he'd been asked not to do it. But now we're seeing it a lot more. And I guess the hope is as well that when these players come back from injury, because I think you made the point last week about Gulavogi and how him potentially wanting to use Gulavogi alongside someone instead of it being, because that might have been in his thinking because he likes to have a proper defensive minded number 6 like an Ampadu and stuff. And I just hope that he doesn't do that. You know, I hope that, you know, when Ampadu does come back and we don't
Does he get back
see
in, Joe? Does he get back in right now?
I think he will, but it's not going to be, I'm walking straight back into the side, let's be honest. Captain or not.
What would you do, Joe? I know you said you think he will, but what would you do? Would you have
I think at the minute right now, you can't change it, I don't think. But I am conscious that when Ampadu was at centre-back and we were winning games, we were all going, he's better. You can't change it. Don't change it. But then at the end of the season, and we actually looked back objectively, went, do you know what? Having him Strout missing at centre-back and Ampadu in midfield killed us. So I think there is a case of that as well, that we do go, okay, yeah, these are winning games, but overall, who's going to be better in that? It's probably going to be Ampadu and Tanaka, as you rate, I think, which is harsh on them, but I think that probably would be the preference, I think.
I'd love to see them.
I'd love to see them.
I think Farke will just go back to his old starting 2 because I think that's the kind of manager he is. However, Connor did ask what we would do, right? And so there's no reason to rush anybody back. So and it's really difficult because these guys, especially Ampadu, I really like Ampadu as a player. I think
different though, and it's so different to.
But here's the thing. You wouldn't take out Rothwell because he's the more advanced. You would take out Tanaka for Ampadu. And I have to be honest, I think Tanaka's the first guy on the team sheet right now.
I don't think he'll do that, Gruev, because I think Tanaka can also play that role.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he can also.
This isn't about what they can. I totally agree with that. I'm just saying that, like, I would probably just keep those guys on ice until January and then figure it out then. Because honestly, like,
it's just not weak, is it? It's not weak from any standpoint, that midfield. I'm looking at it and I'm like, we're not vulnerable. Like, I don't see it at all.
Rothwell put in a performance that I think is better last week. And he's put in a couple that have been stood out more. That Gruev has had some good performances. I'm not trying to slag him off. I've been much less harsh on him than some other members of this channel. But I will say that I think Rothwell put in a couple performances that have exceeded Gruev's standard of performance. And when I'm looking at Tanaka, I also think, just counting this year, Ampadu last year put in some amazing performances, and we know the kind of player he is. I think Tanaka's a more skillful midfielder. I really do. I think he's probably a better midfielder with a higher ceiling.
I think
it's hard to say.
I think Ampadu and Gruev are absolutely perfect for a system-based manager, and I think nowadays it's all about systems, isn't it? I genuinely believe
to the detriment of the game, but yeah,
100% to the detriment of the game. But I think you've actually got Tanaka and Rothwell in there, who it's like almost back to the old days where it's just free-flowing, just quality footballers in there who are literally just ballers and can do a lot of it. At this level, there's a question still with Tanaka at Premier League. Look, we have to say that. People are saying, oh, Tanaka walks into any bottom half Premier League team. You got to hold your horses on that one.
But they are still playing in the system, though, Connor. We should emphasize that they are still playing within the confines and playing it well. It's not like they're just free balling, you know?
Yeah, they are. I think we all know that. I think
we're criminally underrating Ampadu here, folks.
No,
yeah, I agree.
But he's really good.
It's hard. It's hard that they're so different. Like I think they're all such different profiles. I think Gruev, as I've stuck by this, to be fair, I think he's the most limited. I think Ampadu's got more to his game. I just look at Rothwell and Tanaka and think they're such better all-rounders. But then I wonder, is Ampadu specifically better at that defensive midfield role, the attributes that you kind of want in that role, than a Rothwell, let's say?
He's better at disruption. I don't think he's better at anything else than those guys.
Someone made a great point in the comments Imagine Ampadu and Tanaka in that game against Watford. We did get overrun in midfield against that. Yeah. When you had Sissoko, you had them bodies in there. The number 10, Czech Fatadze, who was controlling the game at times, is out. If Ampadu's in there, that doesn't happen for me.
Well, hang on. I do want to.
I'm serious, Gabe. This is true.
I thought, mate, the reason behind that was specifically, obviously, it was 2-1. It was 2-0 at the time, and I thought there was the Chedvadze, however you pronounce it, who, by the way, looked very, very good. I think he's created about 6 big chances as well this season. He looks very, very good. I think they put Kiembe in the middle as well and Sissoko, so I'm pretty sure they went to a midfield 3. So yeah, I wonder if that was the maybe overrunning Leeds is 2. I don't know, but
well, let's also be honest about something though, real quick. I mean, but when we say overrun, we're talking about, you know, looking at matches where we've dominated a possession by like 15 to 20% on minimum. This time we dominated it by 6%. Not dominated. Won the possession battle by 6%. It doesn't equate that we got dominated in midfield. It just means that we were much more on.
No, we were though. You watched the game with your eyes, Gabe. We were dominated in the.
Yeah, we weren't dominated.
We were dominated. We were, Gabe. Gabe,
this is hyperbole.
The stats. It's not
until we made the sub. Bringing on Dan James to stretch the pitch out, we didn't get control in the game again. I'm not saying it's just down to Dan James, but we gave Ruffle and Tanaka more of a platform. To be fair, Farke responded to it pretty well, I thought, in that game. I thought it was one of the games where I thought Farke, tactically, in terms of substitutions, actually changed the flow back in our favour, which is probably his biggest weakness as a manager, I think, is actually reading the game in that way. But I think when you fundamentally look at it, I'm with Joe on this. I think Ampadu is very underrated. I actually think Joe Rodon is also underrated because their performance levels were so high last season. They were 9. They were at least 9 out of 10.
Who's underrating them though?
I think Leeds fans are underrating how consistent those two players are.
Joe Rodon.
Because we're having a conversation about him potentially not coming back in, which is why.
That's only because, as you pointed out, Joe, that these guys have been so good coming back in. It's not. This doesn't take anything away from Ampadu's our captain. Probably our most consistent, one of our best, most versatile players last season.
He definitely comes.
Farke's going to bring him back in, and they're all going to have a role to play.
But this is a good thing.
I don't know how that underrates them as players.
They are underrated.
I'm not saying you are, but they are underrated because, right, not so much you, Gabe, but there is people in the chat, and I can read it, people online saying he don't get that.
Because I want to dig these people out. I want to know why they don't.
Well, they're in there, you know. We've got Sean Ely saying that Ampadu's worse this season because he's got the captaincy and that. They ain't got a clue, some of them, but it is what it is.
But I don't think this idea that Ampadu in his first couple of games, where I saw he's dropped off from last season, I just don't. And Rodon as well. All right, Rodon had a couple of dodgy games around the start of the season. Rodon's been outstanding.
But Oscar, you just said Leeds fans underrated Rodon last season. They did not.
No, this season. Now, they're underrated are based on last season because they were so good last season. They've got to be 10 out of 10 every week, or otherwise they're holding the team back all of a sudden.
Oscar, you yourself said his levels weren't as strong at the beginning of the season. What do you want about?
Boys, can I just... Sorry, this is sort of like going back a little bit as well. Florian Plettenberg has just tweeted out that Koleosho is on Bayern's list of targets. So that tells you all you need to know about Gnonto being the best player in the league because he's not on
because there's a rumor that. Now I'm going to.
No, it's true though. No, my point is. My point is. Bayern want Koleosho. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
but Sean Dyche wants Gnonto. Still.
But no, you look at it.
Sorry,
right?
I went back there.
No, I'm totally with Joe on this in terms of I think it's a good, fundamentally, lads, it's a good problem to have this. This is not a problem for Leeds. This is a good problem to have. We don't need to rush Ampadu
5 really good midfielders.
But I do think over that last stretch of the season, Ampadu will 100% be back in the team when he's fully fit.
And I tell you what, on a positive as well, imagine the injection. If he is back to full fitness, which obviously, you know, is a conversation, Gruev looks like he's out for the season, doesn't it? But I think the impact that you have from Ampadu coming back and being back in for that final stretch, if he is the sub, even if Ampadu's just on the bench and adding that experience again and obviously that captain-like ability, that's massive. That's going to be huge for us. It'll be like a new signing. So yeah, that is it's more of a positive. And by the way, what a problem to have Gilavogi, Gruev, Ampadu. You've literally got internationals, haven't you? Pretty much aside from Rothwell, obviously. But yeah, it's What do you make of Gilavodji anyway? Gabe, I'll come to you first, mate. When he came on, me and my old man were speaking about it earlier on, and he was my dad was sort of waxing lyrical about him. Really, he said, "Look, the physical presence of the lad. We've not seen anyone like that in Leeds' midfield for a long time." I felt he came on in a state of which obviously Plymouth were a bit frantic. It was a bit chaotic, and I thought he wanted the ball, which is a really good attribute. I thought he was physical, and I tell you what, just breaking up the play is where he really, really impressed me. He's almost like that long-limbed that his lunges were able to just intercept everything.
They also seem to be running into him. That was really funny to me. The guy was built like a tower of bricks, and Leeds fans will love him because he's going to get stuck in. He's also, look, this isn't just a disruptor, right? He's a quality midfielder. To have him as your, you mentioned Gruev probably being out the season, so fourth midfielder, just absurd. I was impressed with him. I like that he seemed to note that he got kind of a strangely, almost like cult-like reception from the Ellen Road crowd, which I thought was quite funny.
He never stops smiling, does he? He absolutely.
He's my favorite player. He's my favorite player.
Is he your favorite player already?
15 minutes. He's my favorite player. What a guy. I love him.
No, what can you say about him? And honestly, I sound like a broken record. And I'm the whole recruitment team. You have to really tip your hat to what's happening in the back office at Leeds United, because when you look at the money we've spent, these balances carry over regardless of what division you're in. And I know that for me, I would have liked us to have spent more money in the summer, but man, in hindsight, even with the injuries, if you were to tell me at the beginning of the season, hey, you're going to lose both your starting midfielders, you're not going to miss a beat. In fact, you're going to get some of the best results you've had all season, I would have said probably not.
Lose Archie Gray as well, which was big.
Forget all the guys who left in the summer. Just in the season when you start. By the way, Gruev and Ampadu are going to go out for probably half your season. I think we all would have started doom scrolling.
Well, essentially, Gabe, you've got Gruev and Ampadu who have been, like you said, essentially out for the season, but barring maybe 2 months. You've got Kamara who left, which everyone sort of forgets about, a starting midfielder across a 40+ game.
Turned a profit on him as well.
Yeah, you've got Archie going out, and then you've got Somerville and Rutter going out. They are massive, massive holes left in your squad. It's these 6 starting bodies, isn't it? Really. So,
does anybody disagree that Rothwell and Tanaka have looked better as coming off the bench or filling in an injury spots than anybody we had coming off the bench last season at any point?
Yeah, 100%.
It's hard to even argue, right? So, even though I'm still a little bit on edge with injuries, it's been tremendous spend and investment.
I think Rothwell and Tanaka, they're sort of different type of players, but in a lot of ways they're similar. I think Rothwell maybe a little bit closer to Kamara. I think they're better players than Kamara.
You could even argue we've got a better squad than we have last season, which is something that I got absolutely cooked for saying at the start of the season.
Think about your demographic, Joe. Think about your demographic.
Well, I'm telling you. With the tape.
Yeah, exactly, man. I was fucking Chef Ramsay, mate. You know what I mean? I was there. No, the balance in this side now, the options off the bench is massive. Is massive.
Ramazani coming back as well.
Ramazani coming back. Look, I know you're not his biggest fan, but even Byram, right back and left back,
played well, didn't he?
Was great.
Yeah, he did.
Played really well at right back.
The only concern is if we got a major injury at centre back, but then you've got Gulavogi who plays there, Ampadu plays there. You've also got Debayo on the bench.
You've got that guy, that Austrian guy who may someday sit up.
Yeah, Volber. We forget about him. That's what I'm saying. So
the missing man.
Yeah, the missing man for sure. I just. Honestly,
I also want to thank somebody.
Go on.
I want to thank somebody really quick. I want to thank Oscar for suggesting to Junior Firpo to get not a red card, but to get another yellow card instead to be back, because it was nice to see him back as well, wasn't it? And I thought,
but a big thing as well,
we flowed a lot better down the left.
A big thing as well. I'm genuinely really looking forward to Jayden Bogle being back. I think Jayden Bogle has been a really underrated signing.
Because you hate Byram.
Yeah, get him out.
You've seen Byram once at right back. He goes, can't wait till Jayden's back.
Imagine if he was
at his best game of the season, and he's like,
Connor.
No, he's missed one game, and Connor's like, I cannot wait till he's
Some of these
back.
guys dislike Aronson so much that they've been pining for what's his name, Solomon, a guy who they don't rate or like, to play the number 10 when Brendan Aaronson's got 4 goals.
Whoa. Let's not say I don't like Solomon. Let's not personalize it.
No. As a player, you don't like him as a player. You were talking about him in a video about sending him back early.
Gabe, I wasn't saying that.
Did you not have a discussion yesterday about it?
He wants him, man. He wants him gone.
I put it in the ether. I put it in the conversation.
And I quote, very interesting conversations that we should be talking about on this chat.
We'll post those WhatsApps, mate. No chance to send him back. No way. But yeah, no, I think. Look, when we look at Byram, naturally, it's a downgrade, obviously, to Bogle. Look, I think the rating that he got from a certain site at left back was completely inflated to what his performance was this week. I thought his performance was very good. I said he'd be better right back, so I'm going to pat myself on the back, and he was better at right back. 100%.
What, a right back was better at right back?
Yeah, imagine.
Apparently he's a left back. That's what I keep getting told. He's better at left back. That's what I keep getting told. So SofaScore will tell you as well that apparently he's better at left back. So anyway,
taking out the old sponsor.
Yeah, the old sponsor. Yeah, pay me more. But I think overall the context behind that is I'm just excited to see Bogle back because I think he's just been such a brilliant signing. I think him and Firpo at full, not even fullbacks really, the wing backs have just been top drawer. So nothing really to complain about, is there? I don't know what I'm going to do with the channel if I can't complain.
It's your demographic, mate. You fact. That's your USP.
Yeah. Connor, if you had to start the season, start Byram or Bamford for the rest of it. Byram, mate, all
Please,
day.
Can we not put? Who put? Can we? Why are we put Louis? Why are we putting Byram in the same conversation as Bamford? This was happening pre-match.
Starts with B.
This isn't fair. It's not fair on Byram. Byram's been whenever Byram has been called on since he came in, he's not had a bad game. He hasn't been amazing, but he hasn't had a bad game. Where we've gone, oh my God, what a shocker. He hasn't.
Fair.
So, yeah.
I actually genuinely think he's better defensively than Bogle, but I do think Bogle going forward offers you a lot more dynamism than what Byram does. So I think there's the odd game where you look at it and think, by the way, the fullback depth we've got is absolutely outrageous, by the way. We've got 4 fullbacks who I think would start for the vast majority of teams at this level. Byram would start for the vast majority of teams in this league. Probably, other than the teams in the top 6, I honestly think he would start at right back, week in, week out. And the fact we've got Guy Lavogie, let me just read Guy Lavogie's career history. Saint Etienne, Atletico Madrid, Wolfsburg,
profile,
Bordeaux, Mainz. He's made 7 caps for France. He's possibly our 5th choice midfielder when all our midfielders are fit. This depth is just absolutely ridiculous that we've got. And as Joe said, it fundamentally says that when we say people like Sam Byram coming into the team weakens us technically, that shows just how good we are and how I do honestly think we are clear in terms of quality of the rest of the league. And I think we're not showing it necessarily on the pitch, but I think we should be showing it week in, week out.
That's why I was a bit vexed at the Bristol City point.
Same. We both were.
I didn't think it was a point game. I thought it was too dropped because the standard of this team is so high. So for me, we've got to alleviate those 5 draws. I think going into the sort of next 13 games, you've got to be wiping those out and getting 7, 8 wins.
Bro, I hear you, but again, I'll come back to that Burnley chat. They had 7 draws at this stage. It ain't that bad. I get it.
But Burnley didn't stay up, though, the next season. Got to have a little bit of an eye on that as well.
What's that got to do with anything?
That has nothing to do with it.
But you have
Company just stuck to it.
Well, though.
Yeah, but come on. Company just...
No players in this side are going to be kept in the Premier League.
Next season, we can't afford to have regular games like we did against Bristol City because you'll lose at the top level.
But you're not going to, because you're not going to have the same players.
No, there is that, but
we're not going to have all the balls.
And that's the reason why Burnley go for a 100-point team to getting relegated. Is because we're
going to be like Plymouth.
No, but the point I'm making is that we can't keep comparing it to Burnley too much because Burnley.
No, I've done it once, man, twice. Come on, I'm just saying I've done it twice. But I hear what you're saying.
That's just the point I'm making. I think we do have to have half an eye on next season as well. That Bristol City away games like that, we can't afford them next season.
But also now, if we're talking about the squad being as good as it is as well, like you look at those 5 draws and you break those 5 draws down. there's a conversation that we should have won at least 60% of them. And I understand we can all go through all the cliches. Football's not played on paper. You're going to slip up at some points. I understand that, but really, if you're looking at breaking a barrier and breaking a certain points total, you've got to be winning a lot of these games. And you go back to these teams that have been promoted, and they're winning a hell of a lot of these games. And I just think, your Portsmouths and your Bristol Cities and even your Norwiches have got to be ironed out. And then, I don't want us to be in the conversation, Joe. We were saying it earlier on, mate. 3 of which are going for that second place. So that's why I just think I think the expectation's got to be to win every game. I think it has. It's got to be to win every single game. And am I a little bit disappointed if we draw a game? It depends on the context. I think we've got to be winning most games. I really do.
I agree that we need to be winning most games, but the expectation to win every game, has there ever been a team in the history of this league that's won every game they played?
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying we have to win every game, but I think that's got to be the expectation. I think that's got to be the expectation.
Is it 7 wins from 13 we've got so far?
Yeah.
I think we should be winning more than that out of 13.
10 out of 13 with this squad.
9 or 10 out.
Well, the good thing is about Farke teams is they tend to start a little bit slowly in the first quarter of the season, and then
best start
he's ever had in Q3. Yeah,
best start he's ever had. And he's won the league twice.
Yeah,
and I think as well, you've got to. I know. But context, there's Sunderland one. You should have another win there. I'm sorry, we should have. That's 8.
Portsmouth was crazy how we didn't win that game.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit criminal that we didn't do better against
99
Burnley.
times out of 100.
Yeah, Burnley was an error by Solomon. Burnley was an error by Solomon. Norwich scored from a penalty. The games that we haven't won, apart from West Brom and Bristol City, even West Brom's the only one I can look at and have a case for us not winning. The rest, I think there's a case we should have won them all.
That's what I mean, though, Joe. That's what I mean.
No, that's fair. But who's that on? Because we
shouldn't come down to just one moment though. At the same time, though.
Yeah, but what if there's I hear what you're saying, but what if there's multiple moments in games?
Only a Leeds United fan base would spend a chunk of the show after a 3-0 victory debating about whether we should have more points at this point.
Got nothing else to talk about. We're basically too good. We're too good, so we have to say how we could get even better. Got nothing else to talk about.
Yeah. I just wanted to step back and realize how funny that kind of is.
Do we all agree on this panel, seeing a quarter of the way in, that Leeds United will win the league?
It would be a total failure if we don't with the quality we've got.
So will we win the league, Oscar?
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah, I think we'll win it.
So we're all in agreement. There we go.
I'm much more confident than I was last year when I saw Leicester and Southampton in that division. When you see Ndidi, Vardy, all these Pereira, and you're like, my God, Wout Faes. I'm thinking, my God, how the hell have they still got these players in the job? Southampton, very similar as well with a lot of their players they've managed to keep hold of. I think Leeds' standard right now is it should be way too good, and that's why I'm on the same sort of mode as Joe as Mr. Farke. No excuses. Got to be promotion this year, sir.
Yep.
Right. All right, lads. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll leave it there. It's been an absolutely epic show. Pete says, who will Leeds appoint as manager next Christmas? Pete, we're not thinking like that. And next Christmas, is that after this Christmas?
Jose Mourinho.
Let us know anyway in the comment section below, everybody, what you think on the on the topics that we've discussed here on the panel. I know it's been a good one, and it's been an absolute pleasure, everybody. Check out Joe's channel, Oscar at All Leeds TV as well, and Gabe the American on Twitter, guys.
No, I'm not on Twitter.
Gabe, can you please, can you live stream during the election tomorrow or whenever it is? It's Wednesday.
On
please,
Twitter.
Please,
Do it on Twitter.
You might see just lines of white powder on the desk.
All right, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you in a bit. Cheers.